The treatment's done.
Yes.
So I can crack on and get back to normal again, but actually the phase afterwards is really, is really difficult.
That day, the flashbulbs caught not just the sparkle of diamonds, but also a seismic shift in the monarchy. When Catherine, Princess of Wales, emerged from the royal car outside London's Evelina Children's Hospital, most expected a warm smile, a soft-spoken engagement, and another faultless display of royal duty. But what they didn't expect, and no one was prepared for, was the daring decision that hung around her neck. Diana, Princess of Wales, was the only person to wear this sapphire and diamond necklace, her most personal and valued heirloom. And it was back in the spotlight, not in a glass case or as an homage, but on Diana's daughter-in-law, who was radiant, unshaken, and determined. By the time Kate arrived at the hospital, internet royal watchers had burst. Some described it as stunning, others described it as a silent uprising. But for one guy, it was considerably worse, an open wound torn clean. Insiders reported that Queen Camilla, who was watching from behind palace walls, was visibly shaken, because this necklace was more than simply bling. It was history, and wearing it was more than simply a fashion choice. It was a message. The timing was particularly distressing. Camilla had just thrown a high-profile luncheon at which Kate was reportedly purposefully sidelined, missing critical picture opportunities and being sent to the far end of the room. Whispers indicated a shift in dynamics, a silent power battle, and then, like clockwork, Kate arrived in Diana's most emotionally charged heirloom, a piece that hadn't seen the light of day since before William and Kate married. That's not a coincidence. That is chess. The gesture reignited the public's affection for Kate, who has long borne Diana's memory with dignity. However, it is said to have revived dormant conflicts within the royal family, not just over Diana's legacy, but also over who genuinely controls it. Camilla, who had worked for decades to reshape her image in the shadow of Diana's ghost, was unexpectedly eclipsed. Again, this time it was accomplished by an unexpected maneuver. So, what does it signify when a necklace causes a storm? Why would one heirloom cause the queen consort to scramble for damage control? And what precisely was William's part in this daring reveal? This isn't only about jewels, it is about power, memory, and the ongoing silent fight under the crown. Because in my family, what you wear in public speaks louder than what you say behind closed doors. Kate Middleton has just made it obvious that certain ghosts never rest quietly. This wasn't just ordinary jewelry. Catherine donned a sapphire and diamond jewelry with a history steeped with love, suffering, and resistance. Its origins may be traced back to Princess Diana's early royal life, when she received it as a gift from the Queen Mother herself rather than Charles. Unlike the majority of Diana's jewelry, which was either taken from the crown collection or given to her by Prince Charles, this relic has a profound personal significance. The Queen Mother allegedly gave it to Diana in a private time, noting the young princess's developing isolation in the marriage and gifting her something lovely that was uniquely hers. The necklace included a large Ceylon sapphire encircled by 16 diamonds, in the same design as Diana's now iconic engagement ring, which William subsequently presented to Kate. However, the jewelry was never intended to dazzle in ballrooms. It became a component of Diana's emotional armor. She notably wore it at moments of mild defiance, such as charity galas attended without Charles, or while making speeches that discreetly challenged royal expectations. One occasion, the 1994 Serpentine Gallery Gala, where Diana looked dazzling in the revenge dress, had a sapphire piece that many assumed to be the same necklace, though sources differed. It was her way of declaring, "I am still here, and I am still royal, even if they do not treat me as such." Royal historians have long emphasized that Diana saw her jewels as more than simply decorations. It was a silent language recognized by those who knew where to look. Unlike Queen Elizabeth II, who saw her diamonds as impartial tools of royalty, Diana invested each item with emotion. The necklace became more than just a stone. It became part of her story. And when the gaps in her marriage to Charles grew, The necklace was reputedly one of the few jewels she refused to return to the crown, referring to it as mine in every sense. Following Diana's death, her most famous things were shared among her sons, William and Harry. The sapphire engagement ring has received a lot of attention, but the necklace has remained concealed from public view. Some believed it was kept in the royal vaults, secure under lock and key. Others claimed that it was stored in a secret safe and had been completely deleted from official inventory listings. One thing is certain, it has never been seen again, until now. That's why Kate's appearance rocked the monarchy and those who serve it. For years, the jewelry was considered untouchable, not out of procedure, but out of respect. Even Kate, who had received several of Diana's favorite pieces, including earrings, bracelets, and the engagement ring, had never worn this necklace. It was sacrosanct. It was off bounds. It was too raw. So why now? The timing is tough to overlook. Kate had apparently grown increasingly aloof from some royal engagements in the weeks preceding her hospital admission. At Camilla's recent state supper for visiting dignitaries, royal photographers spotted Kate's absence from critical seating arrangements, which many regarded as purposeful. Tensions between the Queen Consort and the Princess of Wales were said to be increasing behind the scenes. And suddenly, like a flash in the sky, Kate appeared wearing that necklace, Diana's necklace, the only artwork that could cut through decades of royal history in a single image. It was not a scream, it was a whisper, but a searing one, a reminder of the Queen who once lit up the globe and continues to throw a long shadow over the monarchy. Camilla attempted, and failed, to replace in the public's heart. The necklace was never just jewelry. That was a statement. In Kate's hands, it turned into a torch. A torch was carried from mother-in-law to daughter-in-law, spanning time, tragedy, and silent defiance. And Camilla, she understood exactly what that meant, because Diana's spirit was back in the spotlight, this time donning sapphire. For years, Queen Camilla has fought a battle she has never publicly acknowledged, a struggle not against a live adversary, but against a legacy too powerful to be silenced. Diana's spirit pervades every royal hallway, public pole, and portrait of Catherine that reminds the world of who came before her. Camilla has always found that presence uncomfortable and unpleasant. While the late Queen Elizabeth II maintained a cool demeanor toward Diana's ongoing popularity, Camilla has secretly agonized with the constant comparisons. According to insiders, despite her enhanced title and increased engagement in official operations, she has never fully escaped the shadow cast by the people's princess. It's not only about popular devotion, it's also about narrative control. Camilla has spent nearly 2 decades attempting to reinvent hers. From the moment Charles and Camilla were married in 2005, there was a discreet but determined push to realign the royal tale. There were no more open references to the infidelity that had damaged Charles and Diana's marriage. The obvious signs of disloyalty had vanished. In their stead, polished appearances, charitable engagements, and carefully prepared interviews were used to portray Camilla as the misunderstood partner rather than the other woman. However, for every beautiful photo provided by the royal press office, there were 1 million tabloid covers, documentaries, and YouTube tributes to Diana. The monarchy may go on, but public opinion has never completely moved on from 1997. That is why Camilla has always had a difficult relationship with Diana's treasures. Royal observers have long alleged that Camilla quietly prohibited the presentation of Diana's possessions at public engagements. According to a former royal servant, Camilla viewed Diana's items as relics from a time the monarchy was trying to move on from, not symbols to be celebrated. Camilla allegedly made a point of sending Catherine jewels from her own private collection in the early days of Kate and William's marriage, serving as subtle reminders of her own status in the family. There was even speculation that some of Diana's pieces had been purposely hidden from Kate in order to prevent her from drawing too close to the late Princess of Wales. Whether true or not, the symbolism was powerful. Camilla was attempting to shape the legacy narrative. But Diana's memory was never something that could be stored in a velvet box. When Catherine went out wearing her sapphire necklace, years of meticulous media curating came undone. No matter how many royal histories were written or how many official photos Camilla stood for beside King Charles, Diana's image, dignified, loved, and untouchable, came roaring back to life. And not via scandal or gossip, but through her son's marriage, who represented everything the people admired in her. Camilla's quiet fight had always hinged on one thing: the past remained buried. But the jewelry represented a resurrection, and the woman wearing it refused to back down. Camilla was visibly tense inside the palace gates following Kate's entrance, according to sources, and called an emergency meeting of senior staff. Some say she ordered a review of forthcoming events to correct the balance. Others say she pressured Charles to release a joint statement proclaiming their togetherness, which he allegedly delayed. Because no matter how long Camilla wears the crown, she knows Diana didn't need it. Her legacy does not disappear. And now that Kate has entered that light and is wearing that necklace, Camilla's war that she believed she had won is still very much alive. Only now is it no longer silent. Kate Middleton has never had to raise her voice to be heard. Her strength resides in her accuracy, knowing when to grin, when to stop, and when to let quiet speak volumes. So when she wore Diana's most cherished relic to a charity event for children's hospitals, it wasn't just about fashion. It was a strategy, and it landed with the force of a regal order. At first sight, the event appeared to be a typical engagement at Evelina London Children's Hospital, where Kate has been a patron for many years. She appeared dressed in a silky blue coat, her hair nicely put up, and a sweet smile that captivated passers-by. But then the cameras focused in. The sapphire and diamond necklace hanging just below her collarbone was more than simply a finishing touch. It told the narrative. What made the occasion so memorable was not what Kate said, but what she didn't. There was no news announcement mentioning the jewelry. There is no formal tribute, no comment, just the image. Diana's inheritance reintroduced to the public for the first time in decades, adorning the lady widely regarded as her spiritual successor. The message was unsaid, yet crystal obvious. Sources close to Kensington Palace later verified what many suspected. This was not an accident. The choice was purposeful. Since Diana's death, the necklace has been kept safe, safeguarded, and concealed from view. It had been held out of royal rotation not for its design, but for its emotional impact. And now it was back on Kate. Diana was known for compassion, healing, and children, all of which were highlighted at the occasion. The symbolism was too clear to miss. Tensions allegedly rose behind the scenes in the weeks preceding the event. Insiders accused Camilla of discreetly shutting Kate out at a recent high-profile state banquet, arranging seats so that the Princess of Wales was far away from the cameras and excluded from critical picture chances. For the general public, it may have appeared minor, but in royal circles, appearances are important. And how did Kate respond? This is not a statement, not a scandal, just a necklace, and it spoke louder than words could. According to royal sources, the action was quietly defiant. One former courtier stated more bluntly, "Kate doesn't play games, but if you corner her, she'll remind you who you're dealing with, and she'll do it gracefully." In that setting, the necklace served as both a shield and a sword, a reminder that Diana's energy lives on in the next generation, and Kate isn't hesitant to carry it on. The public's reaction to the measure amplified its impact. Within hours, images of Kate wearing Diana's necklace dominated headlines throughout Europe and the Commonwealth. Social internet exploded with tributes. Hashtags such as #PrincessOfHearts and #DianaLives and trended worldwide. It wasn't simply nostalgia, it was loyalty. People perceived Kate as an inheritor rather than an imitator. And Camilla? The message wasn't only for her, it was about her. Because no matter how much royal procedure changes or how many titles are given out, one reality stays constant. When Kate channels Diana, the world listens. When she decides to do it with jewels rather than judgment, the consequences are seismic. This was not rebellion. It was a reminder of ancestry, tradition, and the silent strength that speaks when words fail. Kate didn't have to yell. She let the sapphire do it for her. It resonated throughout the palace like thunder in a cathedral. Tradition is not only perpetuated in the royal family, but it is also enforced as scripture. Jewelry, heirlooms, titles, and even gestures are all weighed, sorted, and measured across years of protocol. This is why what Prince William did next was more than just unexpected. It was revolutionary. According to a well-placed insider within Kensington Palace, the instant Kate emerged wearing Diana's jewelry, he made a statement as well. William had personally recovered the item from the royal vault, where it had been locked for almost 2 decades, and presented it to his wife just days before the hospital visit. There is no middleman, no formality, no authorization from Buckingham Palace. He just stated, "It's time." Royal insiders believe this was more than simply a romantic gesture. It was a breach, a small but clear departure from the tacit agreement he had kept for years: maintain peace with his father, shelter Camilla from public rivalry, and keep Diana's most combustible treasures under lock and key. That agreement is now shattered. For William, the decision was not easy. He has spent the most of his adult life walking an impossible tightrope, respecting his mother's history while maintaining his position in a monarchy that sought to destroy it. He has forgiven, tolerated, and publicly supported a stepmother who was once the most despised woman in Britain, all in the name of duty. But the inheritance transformed everything. According to many reports, recent tensions between Charles and Camilla have left William increasingly disillusioned with the royal machine. The episode at the state banquet, in which Kate was purposefully ignored, apparently made him furious, not because of the procedure, but because of what it represented: a conscious effort to reduce Kate's exposure, just as her global popularity continues to skyrocket. Undermining Kate, in William's opinion, is a bad idea. The jewelry was more than simply a memorial to his mother. It was a statement of support for his wife, and he didn't use usual royal channels to make it happen. According to sources close to the family, King Charles was not consulted before the necklace was removed from storage. When he found out, it was too late. The photographs went viral. The headlines were printing. The world had already taken sides. William's allegiance has always been profound, but it is not blind. He understands what his mother went through: the silencing, sidelining, and gaslighting. He witnessed it all. And today, when history repeats itself in subtle, frightening ways, he refuses to remain silent. By defying convention, William conveyed a message as powerful as Kate's necklace. He will not let history swallow his family whole. Not again. This is not simply a romantic gesture, it is a power transfer. William accomplished what Charles could not. He converted remembrance into movement by assuming possession of Diana's heritage and entrusting it to Kate. He respected the past while safeguarding the future. And for the first time in years, he resisted the monarchy's internal machinery with actions rather than words. Diana would have known this action all too well. Perhaps that's why it ached so much inside Clarence House. Because in that single act, private, intimate, yet explosively public, William reminded the monarchy of something they'd attempted to forget: devotion, when earned rather than expected, is the most potent crown of all. Kate wore the jewelry, but William lit the match. The earthquakes are still being felt behind the royal walls. Despite the stiff upper lips and polished looks, royal life behind the scenes has always been considerably messier than the public expects, and no one felt the full impact of that upheaval more than Queen Camilla in the hours after Catherine's appearance in public wearing Diana's jewelry. According to various insiders, Clarence House was thrown into turmoil, with aides rushing, voices shouting, and Camilla herself reportedly in a state of visible distress. Because this was not simply a press blip, it was an earthquake, one that shattered every carefully crafted story she'd spent decades developing. Camilla's outrage was not theatrical, it was personal. Staffers claimed Camilla requested an emergency meeting with her senior advisors as soon as the images of Kate appeared on the front pages. According to palace sources, she wanted a list of Diana's remaining heirlooms in the royal vault, asking, "What else do they have access to?" It was the query of a woman who understood how vulnerable her position is, and how little public warmth she had in comparison to the lady whose memory refuses to die. According to one royal source, Camilla was particularly disturbed by the necklace's placing in Kate's hands. She always imagined William would conceal the most important jewels, particularly the sapphire set. That was supposed to be off limits, the person stated. When she saw it around Kate's neck, she realized she no longer had control of the narrative. Camilla's intimate circle was not the only one affected by the hysteria. Tension allegedly boiled over into a passionate debate between Camilla and King Charles, which palace workers overheard. While Charles has made a point of publicly supporting both his wife and his son, it is well known that he walks a fine line behind the scenes, attempting to maintain harmony between the monarchy's future and the woman who was once its biggest scandal. But this time, the rope may have snapped. Camilla allegedly scolded Charles for not setting firm enough boundaries with William and Kate, implying that the pair was undermining the institution by reinvigorating Diana's image. Charles, stuck between two opposing factions, allegedly replied by exiting the room in silence, which one assistant described as classic Charles when cornered. Meanwhile, press officers were rushing to recover control of the story. However, no amount of spin could change what had already been seen: Diana's necklace, Kate's placid smile, and a worldwide audience that understood exactly what it meant. Every attempt to redirect news on the king or queen consort failed. The image had already become an icon, and the symbolism was too strong to change. Camilla's darkest worry, that she would never be welcomed in the same way Diana was, had returned to torment her. Only this time, it was not in the past tense. It was standing in front of cameras, admired by the people, and wearing the same gems Camilla had attempted to conceal. The fissures in the crown are no longer about procedure. They are about feeling, memory, power. Camilla, previously assured in her new title, is now in a far more vulnerable position, facing just controversy, but history itself. Behind palace gates, her distress tells it all. Diana continues to reign in the eyes of the people. And Kate, she's not simply following in Diana's footsteps. She's reinventing it, one heirloom at a time. It started off as a peaceful engagement, a typical medical visit shrouded in friendliness. But what happened was a symbolic reckoning that struck to the heart of the monarchy itself. When Catherine, Princess of Wales, donned Diana's most private and emotionally charged heirloom, she did more than merely honor her mother-in-law. She reminded the world and the palace that legacies do not go peacefully, particularly not Diana's. Kate's entrance sparked vibrations that no news statement could quiet. Camilla's decades-long quest to emerge from the shadows failed beneath the weight of a single necklace. Because that sapphire was more than simply a gem, it was a proclamation, a line in the sand. A lesson that grace may speak louder than controversy and memory lasts longer than rebranding. William's participation in the occasion cemented its significance. By delivering Kate the necklace without permission or formality, he delivered a clear message. His commitment to his mother and wife is no longer negotiable. The days of silent obedience have passed. In doing so, he revealed the tension that still exists behind the surface of the modern monarchy, a crown held together by delicate relationships and old scars. Camilla may be queen, but the crown still stands atop millions of people's memories of Diana. And now, that memory has a voice again. Not via words or interviews, but through Kate's calm resistance and William's silent dissent. The jewelry didn't just shine, it touched a chord, one that rang across royal history, whispering a fact that the monarchy has long sought to conceal. Diana was never merely a chapter to be closed. She was the center of the tale. Now, her inheritance is in the hands of the lady who will carry on her legacy. One necklace, just a moment, and the battle for Diana's memory is no longer silent. It has been rekindled, and this time, the public is watching.